It's live. Good afternoon, and welcome to a live chat about Money in the Bank, which occurred last night in Toronto, Canada, or early hours of this morning for those of us watching live in the UK, or early this morning for those of us who watched it not live, who have 8-year-old daughters and who cannot stay up till 4 a.m. in the morning. A really, really, really enjoyable show, which is becoming a habit at the moment for WWE. I think there is normally a post WrestleMania lull. Normally, almost always, in fact, there always is a post WrestleMania lull. And I think WWE have done brilliantly in the months after the biggest WrestleMania of all time to keep things interesting. And interesting, they have kept things. So we've had Backlash, which really helped from being in France. But again, excellent pay-per-view. King and Queen of the Ring is probably the weakest one that we've had since WrestleMania. But again, enjoyable, but not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Clash at the Castle, which I was lucky enough to go to last month, which was excellent. And I'm really enjoying these 3-hour, 5-match pay-per-views. PLEs, not pay-per-views, PLEs, premium live events that WWE are producing. So, Money in the Bank. What a good event. What a good event. Again, 5 matches and a major, 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 major announcement from one of the biggest stars in WWE history as well. So it kicked off with, I'm going to use my notes so I won't forget what it kicked off with. Not that I can forget. It kicked off with a men's Money in the Bank ladder match featuring main event Jey Uso, Chad Gable, Master in the Bank he was trying to become, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, LA Knight, and the Scottish psychopath, Drew McIntyre. I thought really good, solid men's Money in the Bank match. And thankfully, or so we know, no one is injured. That's what Triple H said in the post-match press conference. And thankfully, no one is injured because there were some hell of bumps that were taken in that. I think really good performances. I think the two sort of maybe lesser stars or lesser known stars, Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, did really, really well here. I mean, that sunset flip from Andrade to Carmelo Hayes was ridiculous. But yeah, Carmelo Hayes, I thought Carmelo Hayes in particular did really, really well. He's good. He's really good. And I mean, people who watch NXT before would have known that, but he is making a name for himself on the main roster, and he did really well. Chad Gable, excellent as always. I'm surprised we didn't get even a hint of Wyatt Six, even just a lights out or something or a parcel or something. But again, did really well. LA Knight, interesting one about LA Knight, has his moment. He's obviously still hugely popular. I think he's going to get his match against Logan Paul in Logan Paul's hometown city, whatever, Cleveland, at SummerSlam for the US title, which will be interesting because I assume, which you never should assume with WWE crowds, that Logan Paul will be cheered a lot. And LA Knight, obviously, massive babyface. Has his moment passed because he was in the Money in the Bank last year, this one here in London. And yeah, who knows? Jey Uso did well. I actually did think Jey might do it. But then, he got a ladder chucked at his head. Drew climbed to the top, collected his Money in the Bank. And as he has said since Monday last week on Raw, he has promised to cash it in on the night. More about that shortly. Before the World Heavyweight title match between Seth and El Campeone, we had the Intercontinental match between Sammy and Braun Breaker. Again, another good. I thought this was really good. I actually thought Sammy was going to lose, which is testament to the storytelling and the underdog, all of that, and the way that Braun Breaker has just been spearing people left, right, and centre at 100 miles an hour. I thought he was going to do it, but no, good match again. Braun Breaker's the Hurricanrana Frankenstein is what I used to know as Hurricanrana, and then they stopped calling it that, and I don't know why they stopped calling it a Frankenstein. I wonder if that because the Steiners were in WCW and in WWE. WWF at the time, it was Hurricanrana, whatever. A really good match. But that Frankensteiner he does, where he jumps to the top rope, balances, does a pose, and then does the Frankensteiner, is excellent. But no, Sammy retained, which I'm surprised at. But I'm enjoying. Sammy's had he's had good matches with Chad Gable. He's had a good Intercontinental title run so far. It'll be interesting. I don't think there's an obvious, unless it's a rematch with Braun Breaker, I don't think there's an obvious opponent for him at SummerSlam, but I'm sure he will have an opponent at SummerSlam, and the Intercontinental title will be defended. Although, saying that, SummerSlam is, until 2 years' time, one night, and they never normally do more than 7 or 8 matches. We know the 2 main men's titles are going to be defended. We know it's Nia versus Bayley, because Nia won the title shot. So that's interesting. Who knows what is going to happen at SummerSlam and whether they can defend. And I'm pretty certain Logan Paul is defending that US title. So that's already 4 matches guaranteed. I mean, well, let's talk about CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, etc. So Damian Priest, Seth Rollins, I thought, again, another super solid match. I mean, Damian Priest, I'm becoming a big fan of him. Now, the match, just before the match ends, or before the cash-in happens, there's a superplex into a suplex, into a Falcon Arrow. And does Damian Priest kick out? What happens there? Was the music supposed to hit earlier? Was he concussed? If you look at the video footage, Damian Priest wiggling his fingers. Whatever happened, the referee did not count to 3. Drew McIntyre's music hit as promised, cashing in. Interestingly, cashed in to make it a triple threat match. Looked like he was going to do it, and obviously, this is a storyline that's been going on a while. But if you just look back at WrestleMania, we had the roles reversed. We had Damian Priest cashing on Drew McIntyre after he just beat Seth Rollins. So the same 3 people, and who else was involved? And who else was involved again? CM Punk. Phil Brooks cost Drew McIntyre. And I have to say, Phil Brooks was looking up to wrestling speed, so it surely is a matter of weeks. I mean, we want this match, but how does this match not headline SummerSlam? It won't headline SummerSlam, because surely the WWE title match will headline SummerSlam between Solo and Cody, which I'm certain that is the match. But Drew versus Punk is probably the most wanted match right now in WWE. I think this is going to be one. I mean, Drew's probably going to kill him next time he sees him, because it's cost him again. So Drew gets cost again. 3rd time to do with the title. 4th if you include the screw on Raw, where he allowed Jey Uso to get a title shot. So that was that. A really interesting post this was the Seth and Punk stare down. I mean, we know there is absolute history there. We know now from the WrestleMania documentary, and I think it was obvious, that was the original match, probably the night 1 original main event of WrestleMania 40 that never happened, and that's the match down the line. But WWE've got so much they can do. They could literally have a triple threat match at SummerSlam. I don't think they'll do this, but they could have triple threat match at SummerSlam between Seth, Punk, and Drew. I don't think they will. I think the first match will be when Punk is cleared, Drew and Seth. And then Drew had a bit on the post-match where he starts shouting during a post-match. He pushes a couple of referees. He actually elbows Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce has tweeted or something on Instagram saying there'll be repercussions. So Raw will be interesting tomorrow night / Tuesday morning. Again, I thought a good match. I mean, the ending or the bit before the ending, people might have a moan about Damian Priest not kicking out. They could make that into something though. And again, a good match. I think Damian Priest has had an unexpectedly, from the enlightening here, maybe it's the Undertaker, an unexpectedly very good run from WrestleMania to now. But it does mean he faces the King General Gunther, and I see him losing, quite frankly. The only way I don't see him losing is Gunther then, well, that's not his home country, Germany, but I suspect he'll have a lot of fans in Germany. He's Austrian, because of the closeness of the countries, but also because Gunther, big, huge name in Germany. So there's something in that maybe for Bash in Berlin, which is about 3 weeks, I think it is, or 4 weeks after SummerSlam. And then maybe he gets a rematch and then maybe he wins it there, or maybe that first title defense. I cannot see Damien Priest pinning Gunther when only one person, two people, or whatever it is, one person in the main roster has pinned Gunther, just Sami Zayn, and a couple of people in NXT. So I can't see that happening. So I think as good as El Campione, Rise for the Knights run has been, I think it might be coming to end at SummerSlam at the hands of the King General. Onto the women's Money in the Bank, I would say match of the night. I would probably go as far as, in fact, I will go as far as saying best women's Money in the Bank match, probably best Money in the Bank match in years. And we're lucky enough last year to go to the one in London, and I thought there were two solid Money in the Bank matches then. But this was something else. The bumps, Jesus Christ. Zoe Stark, Io Sky, all of them. So, yeah, crazy. So who do we have? Zoe Stark, Io Sky, Chelsea Green, who that last bump, amazing. Tiffy Time, Naomi, and Lyra Valkyria all did themselves proud. Took some amazing bumps, some stuff we've never seen before in Money in the Bank. But they did themselves absolutely great. I think Tiffy was the favourite. I think Tiffy was always going to win, or most people thought she was going to win. I did think, though, Chelsea Green is Canadian. So there was a definite home surge for her. Although Chelsea Green and Tiffany Stratton are getting very popular with the crowds, despite both being heels. Chelsea Green, if anyone doubted she could actually wrestle, watch that Money in the Bank. That fall off the highest ladder from the middle of the ring into two tables was epic. So definitely worth, I would say match of the night, the women's thing. And given Drew has cashed in and failed with his Money in the Bank, we have only one music to listen for the next up to a year, 364 days now, when it's Tiffy time and her music comes out. So that will be interesting, but I think deserved winner. She's been on a great run since she's joined the main roster. She's just actually good transition. I think it's like 23 or 24, something like that. Only been wrestling 2 to 3 years. I'm sure I've read that or seen that or something. Might be nonsense, but I'm sure that's true. And we got a really, really good Money in the Bank women's match, and probably the right winner based on current heat and where things are going. So yeah, Tiffy was a winner. Who knows when she cash it in? Interesting, on the press conference they asked her about cashing it in on whether she could cash it in on Bailey or cash it in on Liv, but she said because she's SmackDown. So I don't know now. I can't remember. Maybe someone can tell me. What are the rules? Can you only cash in on your own brand, or can you cash in on others? Because obviously, maybe it's the Royal Rumble where you could pick your champion. Who knows? But although randomly Austin Theory cashed in on the US title on Seth Rollins, which was one of the worst decisions ever, and then he lost it. That wasn't good. And on to the main event, the New Bloodline against Cody, Kevin Owens, the home country guy, and Randy Orton. Huge crowd. Great crowd. Hats off to Canada. Followed in the footsteps of France and of Glasgow. Huge, loud crowd, which just makes any show. Anyone who's watched wrestling for any time knows when you've got a crowd into something, you can make something that is not even good, great. And you make something great, amazing. But yeah, good. I thought it was good, solid main event. To be honest, I feel like we've seen these 6-man tags with the Bloodline, Cody, Randy, etc., Kevin Owens, like loads of times. But I think Solo had to get the win. If Solo's going to be taken even semi-seriously as a title threat to Cody at SummerSlam, which it does appear that will be the main event of SummerSlam, Cody versus Solo, now that he's pinned him. But again, star of the show, Jacob Fatu. Wow. I remember a lot of people getting very excited when it was rumored that WWE signed him before he actually appeared on SmackDown a few weeks ago. But everything he's done since he's joined, 2 SmackDowns and 2 or 3 SmackDowns, and now this in-ring WWE debut, he's going to be an absolute star. that off the top rope, that balance, that twist in the air to break up Cody and Solo was epic. So yeah, he is definitely the most promising member of the new bloodline in terms of pure wrestling, but also just character. He's got a look, he's got a feel. I think he's going to be there. But yeah, so it ends with Cody getting pinned, which is only the let me think, fourth time he's been pinned since he's returned. He got pinned by obviously Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. He got pinned by Drew McIntyre on Raw. And now he's been pinned. I feel like he's had one more pinfall loss. I can't remember who the other pinfall loss was. Yeah, and now by Solo, which sets up their inevitable match at SummerSlam. So yeah, again, good, solid 8/9 out of 10 show, I think, from WWE. Again, big fan of these 5-match sort of 3-hour formats. I think it keeps it good. Don't, not everything has to be a WrestleMania, and everything has to be like, 58 matches like AEW puts on in one show, or like WWE used to. It's funny, Triple H made a joke about that. If you haven't seen it, check it out, the post-match press conference. Triple H makes a joke about that. And then he says, "Don't make a thing of that. It's not a." Well, he didn't say this, but he meant it's not an AEW thing. He's talking about his own stuff. And for those of us who've watched for ages, for those of us who actually went to WrestleMania 35 in New York and had to sit for a 7.5-hour show, including pre-show, I always say this. I've probably said this before in this show. Always feel sorry for Becky. Always feel sorry for Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte, because it was a decent match and it was Becky's moment, but. Yeah, those were the days of the too long PLEs, pay-per-views. Now, thankfully, we have 2 nights of WrestleMania. Soon we'll have 2 nights of SummerSlam, which I know has caused some controversy, but I think with the size of roster they've got at the moment, they can definitely do 2 two-night shows a year. As long as they can, get a couple of maybe bigger names in, as well as their roster, build up the matches right. I'm not surprised that they're going with that, and obviously, surely revenue, money, it makes sense. And actually, pointed this out to someone the other day, from an international fan point of view, or someone who's traveled from far away to go to a SummerSlam, it's definitely better when you've got 2 nights. So lucky enough to go to WrestleMania 38, 39, and 40, and doing that, especially the California one even the Texas one with the longer time difference between there and London, going something and knowing it's not just one night, you've got 2 nights to go for is cool. So I can see that happening. And the last thing, and certainly not least thing to talk about, John Cena has announced his retirement tour. So John Cena came out. Trish Stratus, the host of Money in the Bank, came out, said about 4 lines, and then introduced John Cena. And initially, until I read his T-shirt, I thought, okay, John Cena's just coming out. Someone's going to come in, he's going to give them an AA, he's going to say something, or they're going to announce an event for Canada next year, or he's going to say, oh, Canada should have a WrestleMania or something like he would do. But actually, I think halfway, once he came out, about a minute or so, even before he got into the ring or got on the mic, when you see what it said on his T-shirt, you realized it's almost over for John Cena. One of the GOATs. Not the GOAT, in my opinion, but one of the GOATs. So it seems John Cena will have one last run, which is cool, which is not just one last match, from January to December, as he confirmed in the press conference. January to December next year, conveniently, when Netflix starts showing Raw and in America and shows everything in the UK and other countries, John Cena will have one last run. So he said he'll have one last Royal Rumble, one last Elimination Chamber, one last WrestleMania, which will be WrestleMania 40 in Vegas, and then one last of everything next year. So that's going to be really, it's time, it's cool. It's never been done this way in wrestling that I can think of, where someone's announced a run. Oh, in fact, it hasn't. I'm pretty certain it's never been announced that way. Not in WWE anyway, where they've said someone's going to have a run. Someone as big as John Cena. It's going to have a run. It's going to be cool. I mean, the possibilities, given the roster at the moment, the possibilities of what can happen is quite epic. There's some I mean, for all of you who've watched wrestling for years, there was a whole running joke about how sick we were of Randy Orton versus John Cena because it used to be the match every single month and for about 3 years. But there's a possibility of a Cena Orton, it's a possibility of Cena Punk, probably a tiny possibility of Cena versus The Rock, the rubber match as they're 1-1 man each. I'm not sure I want to see that anyway. And then there's obviously the whole new load of talent, LA Knight versus John Cena. You know, the new call-ups from NXT versus John Cena, Gunther versus John Cena. Obviously, he's lost to Solo, and he did make jokes, and rightly so, about how he hasn't won a match in ages. And I think he won a tag match at something last year, didn't he? But he hasn't won a one-on-one match for so long. Lost to Solo, lost to Austin Theory. I can't remember who else he wrestled. He lost to. I think he's won a couple of tag matches, but he hasn't won a match. But someone finally had loads of questions, and again, a great press conference. It's well worth checking out with Cena and everyone else, and Punk, Triple H, Tiffany Stratton. That he gets asked, and I was like, someone asked him surely about number 17. So John Cena, for those of you who don't know, is on 16 world titles alongside Ric Flair. They are the holders of the most world titles, at least by WWE's definition. And interestingly, someone did ask him at the end about number 17, and he said you have to earn it, which is exactly, I mean, although you'd say if John Cena was put into a title match right now, which he actually was when he came back for SummerSlam against Roman Reigns, so I don't know if he earned it then. But I do feel it sounds very much like he'll enter the Royal Rumble on February the 1st next year, and he will be a huge sentimental favourite to try and win the Royal Rumble and get a title shot. Obviously, it all depends on who's the title, who's the champion, what they're doing with the bloodline, Cody, Seth, Roman Reigns, The Rock, etc., as whether we want him in the title position for WrestleMania, whether he's got an epic match with someone at WrestleMania. He's got to win some matches, I think, first and foremost, when he comes back. But he said something like 30 to 40 dates. So I assume that could just be appearances or has he actually got 30 or 40 matches? I'm not sure he's got 30 or 40 matches in him in the year. It's almost one match a week, or two matches every 3 weeks. That equates to in 2025. So probably appearances, Raw, SmackDown. I suspect Raw, especially because in America, Raw will be on Netflix every week, and it's going to be a huge deal. And if you can get people like The Rock and John Cena, etc., onto these shows, you get eyeballs, you get people who don't normally watch wrestling to watch it. So yeah, that was Money in the Bank. 5 very good matches, 1 epic women's Money in the Bank match, and a huge announcement for John Cena, which it always makes me laugh when I see things appear in the UK on the BBC website or on Sky News, which are very mainstream. For those of you, if you're watching in a different country, very mainstream news websites. And on both of them, I was looking about an hour ago, and they've both got stories about John Cena announcing his retirement. But yeah, big news. Right. Please comment, please like, please share. And I will catch up with you probably at some point later this week after Raw or after SmackDown. And we'll see what happened. Big repercussions on Raw. Drew McIntyre elbowed Adam Pearce in the post-match kerfuffle. CM Punk's interfered again. I assume Adam Pearce is going to make some announcement tomorrow on Raw about Punk and McIntyre, and that will be very interesting. I think that will be the highlight of Raw this week. Also, we didn't get any Wyatt 6 stuff, so I assume some more Wyatt 6 stuff will happen. Good evening, afternoon, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that, and please, as always, share your thoughts in the comments. I'll reply, and I will catch up with you all soon. Take care.